evening. Welcome everyone to the Board of Supervisors meeting. I'll call this meeting to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will start with public comment. Michelle?
So I'm coming to this meeting once again to talk about the right to know requests. Looking at the right to know report, very first thing on there is one of the 3 cases that are in our court system right now. And this case has been in there for quite some time. There's been so many opportunities during that case for the township to admit that the records were gone. First, I asked for an in-camera review to see if the records existed. The township said an in-camera review is not appropriate, and she has no basis for her bald claim that the records don't exist anymore. I subpoenaed the records to be brought to court to prove they exist. Once again, the township had an issue with that. Oh, she did it wrong or something. And ultimately, the judge quashed that on the same day she ordered the township to provide those records. And then I received thousands of clips of children instead of what I requested and was taken to court over. So after going through these thousands of clips, over 7,000 videos, and determining exactly what was there and what was missing, I filed a petition for contempt. So that was last year still. The township still did not admit that the records were gone, and instead chose to lie, telling the court, we gave her the records, we saved the records, we flagged them, this is what we gave her, and verified that under penalty of perjury with the signature from our chair. During all this, I emailed the township numerous times. I emailed all 3 supervisors and David Gaines and said I definitely did not receive these. And still, that lie continued. So we went to court in March, and at that point the township was still taking the position that you gave me the records. And then it was finally revealed that that was not true and they weren't saved. And that's just one of the 3 cases. In another case, which is not even on this report, another court case that the township brought into the court system and had the same arguments and objections, there were absolutely no records saved. And then in yet another case that the township, I guess, thought they brought into the court system, I was looking back at the emails with the OOR on that, and I said to the OOR, I don't think that they have these. I think they should prove they have them. I believe that they're just stalling so that these records disappear. And that was true. So the reason I'm talking about this, because I know I'm not going to change any minds here. I just believe that the taxpayers have a right to know about this, and you guys are refusing to tell them. And this is very serious, because there are daily penalties that could be applied, and there are crimes that have been committed. And, you know, this could be settled in a few months or it could be settled in a few years. I intend to see this thing all the way through, because this cannot happen to anyone else. It cannot. So I just think that the taxpayers need to be warned that some very serious repercussions could be coming sooner or later. And you all, for some reason, seem to believe that if you just don't say anything, that it's going to go away, and it's not going away. There's something else I wanted to say about that. Yes. To the people that are watching this, watch these videos and look at what happens during the Right to Know Officer report. Look at what happens when we reach unfinished business, writ of mandamus. So far that's been brought up 3 times, and not a single
That's your time.
word has been said about it. And your scoundrels.
Thank you for your comment.
You're welcome.
There is no other public comment, so we will move on to liaison reports. Solicitors report?
I mean, I don't have anything. I will say in response to that we do have a hearing coming up on Michelle's request to penalize the township, and that is the penalty she's referring to. We will continue to represent the township in these matters. But I don't have much patience for her saying the township, people should know in the township that penalties could be applied, because she's the one asking to impose the penalties on the township.
Excuse me, that hearing a month from now was originally about your request to sanction me $1,000,
Right.
correct?
The daily penalties, remind me, who is seeking those?
I am seeking those.
Thank you.
Yeah?
And the township does not have comment at this time for the public because we are in litigation.
Yes.
So we are not commenting on that. Is that all for your report?
Yes.
Emergency management coordinator?
Don't have a lot to report, except from March 18th, so about a week ago, I was getting reports every day from Center County Emergency Management about the COVID, and I haven't gotten any in a week, so I guess that's a good thing. That's about all I have. I got 3 of my classes continued. I passed 3 of the classes that I needed, and also was on a Zoom meeting with emergency management about the COVID.
Thank you. Gregg Township Fire Company, anything anyone wants to
Oh, the only thing I want to say is thank you for the $5,000 for the building repair. You noticed we worked Monday night, we got the window back in. We have some work to do on the roof yet, try to get the leaks fixed. And we're going to start doing some maintenance over there. We're going to paint the doors, do some painting, clean up. From the rain the other night, or Monday afternoon, part of the ceiling in the kitchen collapsed from the rain. So we have more repairs to make.
It does look like the fire company is starting to ramp up some more fundraisers now that
Now COVID's over.
restrictions are.
Yeah, there's a chicken barbecue this weekend.
There's another tractor pull coming up soon too, correct?
I'm not sure what the date is with that.
Anything else for the fire company? Old Gregg School, we'll start with the advisory board report. Anything?
We didn't vote on anything, so there's nothing for us. I think everything will be, Doug will have it, he should, or Pam.
Physical plant managers report.
Yeah, I'm currently gathering quotes for padding for the gym walls, also gathering quotes for the pantry. We want to line the pantry walls with glass board in order to meet the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture standards. And so I'm waiting for one more quote for that. I have called a number of people and I expect to get something next week. So once we do that, we can go out and look for somebody to repair those pantry walls. That's all I know.
Operation managers report.
The only thing I have to report is that we did have the building disinfected, every room, and it is posted in every room that it was disinfected. And then there's also hand sanitizer stations at each door.
Don Grenable is stepping down from security.
Well, I wanted to get somebody in there to fill in for him for right now,
Okay.
but I asked him a couple times, he's been off for like over 2 months,
Okay.
you know, and I wanted to get somebody to fill in. But every night gets told that for a while, especially campus season. So,
And now that the building will be open.
reopen,
Right.
yeah, so,
So it was recommended to have Chris Metelsky fill in for Dawn for security. So I will entertain a motion to approve Chris Metelsky for security.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimous. Anything else for the old Gregg School that isn't on the agenda?
no.
Okay. Penn Valley Code Enforcement Agency, I don't think we've gotten a report yet for that. I know they had been off for a little while. I'm sure they're getting quite busy with backlog. Penn Valley EMS.
Like I reported back in March, I didn't know the exact number then, but they had received like $9,192.44 with grants and fundraisers, which they are actually out of debt now. There was another Center Gives donation, which ended up being $5,580, but there's going to be additional coming from that, possibly matching funds, but that's not known at this time, so I should have an update by next month. The only other good news would be that staffing reported all the transportations that were taken to the hospital. There was 0 COVID patients, and how they know that exactly, the hospital gives them a report back when every person is taken there. So that's all I have at this time.
Anything else for EMS? Penn Valley Regional Planning Commission, we did finally have a meeting after several months. We didn't really discuss any business. Most of that was tabled until our next meeting. It was more just catching up with each of the municipalities to see what impact has been seen throughout the Penn Valley region. Anything else you want to add on that?
September's the next meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Planning Commission had nothing to meet for, so they did not hold their meeting this month. They will plan on having their meeting next month. Tri-Municipal Park.
Joel, did you want to comment?
Anything particular, or,
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, you want to report on?
Well, I'll say a few things, yeah. I've said before, the tree planting has been delayed till the fall because of COVID-19, but we are planning to plant the trees in the fall. There is some new interest in fundraising, both from, well, primarily from Erica Husser, but from others on the board as well. Mark Scher is going to be contacted about some ideas that Joel has, or Joel heard about, and he can tell us about that. I may have mentioned this before. There's a youth football league. It's going to be playing on one of the playing fields this fall. There's also a soccer league that wants to play on the days the youth football league is not playing. And so I think this fall we're going to see a good bit more activity at the Tri-Municipal Park. We had a Zoom meeting with some of the board members last Tuesday, and we were again talking about getting some sort of a trail in and around the perimeter of the park so people can walk there and take mountain bikes. And I guess the golf course is being used more. There were some comments about it not being mowed. I'm not really sure what that means. I need to follow up. I talked to Joel about it. Joel's saying it is mowed, so I need to find out from the people who said the grass is too long to play. I'm going to get back to them and find out exactly what they mean.
Well, I can comment on that somewhat. I was up at the park today. for a
Joel, would you
while.
mind coming up here to,
I'm sorry?
would you mind coming up here to give your,
Okay. As far as the golf course goes, ever since, actually Doug mowed early in the spring, fairways, or whenever it was, March, April. The fairways, everything's mowed. The only thing it isn't done, the hayfield hasn't been harvested overall. And so I don't know where this is coming from, except people that don't want to walk out in a hayfield to get a frisbee that they threw awry. But the farmer will be taking the hay off soon. I mean, now we got 1.5 inches of rain, so that's going to be delayed somewhat. But I'm sure we will be taking that off in the next week to 10 days. But everything is mowed. It's not like you have to walk through tall grass to get to the baskets or the shooting where you throw the frisbee from. The fundraising, this was projected while I was still president, so I guess that's why I know a little bit more about it. The 2 grants that Brian Almond had suggested we go for, he prepared and they're submitted and they're being reviewed right now. And the total of those 2 grants, because they can match each other, it could end up in something like up to $1 million worth of money to use to do a pavilion, a very nice pavilion, restrooms, more trails, more parking. That's just kind of a highlight of that at this point. We need, my understanding is we need to raise about $60,000 to match those 2 grants, which is a very small investment when you look at what we're going to get back. And I did have, I won't go into detail on this, but I did have a discussion with Mark Sher here very recently in an outing. And he advised me of a foundation that he has got money through for land that mutually, jointly owned down in the Ingleby area. And this foundation is very supportive of conservation and that type of thing. And I've been encouraging them to move forward to check that out and see what we can do. I would think it's possible, and I don't want this written down this way, but I would think it's possible we might be able to ask him for $60,000 based on some discussions Mark and I had. So I'm going to, not on board, but from where I sit, I'm going to try to do all I can to help this all move forward. So I guess unless there's questions, and I don't want to supersede Doug. And we have a very active group right now. I'm glad I went off the board because my replacement and Jane are both doing good things. And I'm hoping to get Mark and a few of the folks together to move forward with the fundraising. Any questions? Okay, thank you. It's good to see everybody again.
On the tri-municipal park, I heard that you're looking at rewriting your bylaws.
Yes.
So I would hope that as the municipalities that own the property, that we will be reviewing those bylaws.
Yes, yeah, nothing definitive has emerged. We kicked it around, and there's really nothing to come forward with. So when that happens, they will be coming to it.
Anything else for Tri-Park, Charles?
Nothing.
Okay. Water and Sewer Authority, I don't think we've gotten a report from there.
No.
We will move on to Secretary Treasurer's report. I will entertain a motion. Actually, I won't entertain a motion yet to approve the meeting minutes because under the new business about the bid awards, Pam, if you could add what the bid amount was for and who the other bids came in,
Okay.
so that we have that number on record when we submit all of our grants. Any other changes need to be made to the minutes?
On page 1, we're talking about the 4,000 settlement. It says underground storage tank. They have proposed for 4,000 settlement. I like to change the they to a company's name for future reference.
Right, Blair Petroleum. Any other changes? Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve the May 21st, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes with the 2 changes as addressed.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
No, not here.
All those in favor? motion to accept and approve the all funds financial report.
I will make that motion.
Second is your,
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimous.
Gary, come on away. This needs to be changed.
Is it down or red? Is it red?
It's red.
It's red, it's
The
close,
block's still-
close that.
Close the black. Okay, so we had just completed the secretary treasurer's report, the right to know officers report, anything there?
No,
Any questions, comments on the right to know report? Okay, we'll move on to roadmaster's report.
I guess basically we've been trying to keep things, ditches open and trees off the road with all the weather that we've had lately. Started mowing, and today we started the dirt and gravel roads ESA project on the Native Gap. Other than that, I don't really have anything.
I wanted to ask you a question. On the Century Estates subdivision, it looks to me like they reseeded down the left side of Marlin Drive. Did you notice that?
I haven't been out there lately.
Okay. Well, they have a machine out there and they've scraped up the earth and it looks like it's been reseeded. And I'm not sure why, maybe because it wasn't greening up. Our engineer said nothing about that to me when I called him. But I think one thing will happen because they've lowered the elevation, we're gonna get more water down the hill to the left of Marlin Drive and into our ditch. I don't know if they did that to try to prevent the water from coming across the road and redirecting it.
Which drive, is that the one where we already have the water issue? That's the one down?
No, that's the one towards Middle Road.
Well,
I talked with the Conservation District today about that issue.
Yeah,
They're back in the Native Gap, and they're looking into it as best they can right now. And
okay.
I have some, as you've seen, some pictures, so at this point, it's kind of out of our hands, see if we can let somebody else, do what they have to do there.
You say they are going to look at it?
Yeah.
Okay. And I haven't heard back from the engineer again since I called him, so I'll be following up with him. And I'm very curious about what they did down the left side of Marlin Drive.
Yeah, I've not been out there either.
Yeah. Okay.
There were some residents who were expressing concern about Gingrich Gap. So just as a point of note on the meeting recording, that Gingrich Gap is a project we are currently working on. We opened the bids for that at the last meeting. We're just waiting on the
Contractor
Contractor
and
for the
us to get
so.
free. I mean, right now, there's hopes of July, weather pending. Everything's kind of on the back burner because of the weather. It's nicer for 3 days and then pours for 2, so it's kind of hard to get things done. So, yes, that's on the project list.
Yeah. What about the paving? Do we have time yet on that? For this
No.
little thing here?
They didn't give me time, they didn't get back to me. I believe we sent the paperwork back already.
Yes.
As far as signing that for the small road by the fire hall, but there's no time frame really on that, they just said they put it on the books.
So we're looking at, did you say mid-July for Gingrich? Somewhere around that.
July-ish.
And then the Township, all of that will be done
At
as
the
soon as
same time.
Gingrich Gap is
Right.
done with the DSA. You started mowing
Yes.
and all that, so. Anything else for the roadmaster's report? On to unfinished business, the writ of mandamus, any comments regarding that? COVID-19, the township's preventative measures, we've obviously been under the emergency declaration that we have done. Given everything going on at the state level, between the legislation and Wolf, any implications we should be aware of? I mean, when we're looking at trying to get funding reimbursement, if there's still something we might need to purchase for expenses for this, it's probably in our best interest then to extend our emergency declaration to the next month.
Yeah, so I've been suggesting to folks that you kind of follow PSAT's guidance, because they have the legislative know-how, basically, to keep up with all this. It's hard to keep up with, so
Yeah.
they have the staff to know, where the winds and the tier views are going. So PSAT's right now is suggesting that you kind of hold steady as best as I can tell, based on where you are. Part of that's because they're advising the whole state, and some areas are still in other colors of this, plan. But it seems to me, we were talking about this before the meeting, there are parts of the state where it's coming back, the numbers are going up, and that's what PSAT's email was talking about the other day. So unless the current measures are significantly impacting things for township residents in a material fashion, I would suggest, yes, just wait
Just extend
another
it
month,
until-
yeah. And there are funding measures as well that could benefit from the continued emergency declaration.
Any comments on that?
No, at this point.
So I will entertain a motion to extend our emergency declaration until July 9th.
I will make that motion.
Second or here?
Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. In regard to the opening of the facility here, obviously, like Pam said, we had the professional sanitizing done throughout the whole building. We installed the hand sanitizing stations. We have not publicly announced that the building is open in any fashion, so I think that tonight should come up with an official decision on what that looks like so that we can let everyone know. We had talked about the tenants, obviously at the last meeting we talked about the tenants and their clients using the facility. But in terms of the gym and fitness center, whether we start renting and what those occupancy numbers would be.
Just in my opinion, why don't we give it till the 9th of next month? See how things go.
Give it till the 9th for what?
Before we open it up completely to the public. That's my opinion.
Yeah, from what I understand, the governor's given the okay, and PSAT seems to be following that.
Right, gyms have started opening, I mean, the YMCA.
Yeah, and I would do it as long as we have social distancing, and we're careful about that. We have some small gatherings that want to meet here. I'm not sure that that's, should be an issue.
But I think we have to be specific, so that we're not,
Well,
Specific.
picking one group over another. We would need to have
Yeah.
guidelines.
yeah, so if you open, you're still under a requirement in this green zone to follow this. Sorry, I'm looking at a Penn Live website that pulled up a video. Talking about the green measures. You
If
still
groups
have
under
to,
250, and you still have to keep,
yeah, you have to disinfect like every day.
which is the issue that we have.
Yeah, you're supposed to wear a mask, and other requirements. You're supposed to follow the CDC guidelines, which are, a bucket of things, but masks, infecting as much as possible, basically, and social distancing are the key features. So that's, kind of the law right now. I mean, it is the law through these executive orders right now. So I think even if you open, those measures would need to be in place. At the same time, you may be under a burden to, disinfect pretty darn frequently.
information I've been getting and seeing is that the virus does not actually live on a surface for up to 3 days. That was talked about in the beginning. It's actually somewhat less than that. And depending on the surface, it could be not very long at all. It could be a little longer on some other surfaces. So how does that translate to disinfecting? Right now, we're doing this, I believe it's twice a week. In other words, when the cleaning people are here, they're wiping down the doorknobs and doing a little extra work to make sure things are clean. Is that enough?
And we do have a spray bottle in the gym downstairs that, after each use, they spray them.
Yeah.
Because basically it's an all or nothing kind of a thing if it comes to sanitizing. We would have to have the building entirely shut down and tenants wouldn't be able to use it even at that point.
I'd like to make a motion that we at least let the tenants continue the way they've been right now and not open the building to the general public until we make a decision at our next meeting on the 9th.
Is there a second?
No, I want to give this more consideration. We were looking for something specific, I guess, and haven't been able to find that.
So the order technically says you need to maintain, of course, it says maintain the pre-existing cleaning protocols, so I guess we need to look at that, but established in the facility for all areas of the building. Ensure that the facility has a sufficient number of employees to perform the above protocols. And ensure that the facility has a sufficient number of security employees to control access, maintain order, and enforce social distancing. As I read this, one thing I'm thinking, could you reopen the groups and have guidelines for groups to follow? If you're hosting an event, you need to ensure social distancing, you need to clean when you're done, you need to do all that. But don't open for just rec basketball, if you will.
The problem is the doors are either unlocked or they're not unlocked because the tenants, you have to be able to get to
Right.
the office.
All
I mean-
tenants have keys, so.
Right, but the thrift store relies on people just coming and shopping. So, we could go back to the locked building where the tenants have to then monitor the doors themselves to let people in.
You would go like the kids' repair, like the Tabby Gym and downstairs, walk out, no admission, no admitting to the gym and the underground gym. They have the building open.
That's what the Y in State College is, basically. They won't, there's no rec basketball, or they control it. But,
Well, what about the church?
Technically, churches are exempt from even the 250 people max. But I don't think that the church here is planning on even doing much right now.
for tonight's purposes, I think if you wanted to, you could pass a motion to say, reopen the old Gregg school subject to safety guidelines to be determined. You can work on the nitty-gritty details outside of the meeting while passing a general authorization to head in that direction. So you don't at least have to wait until July.
We could reduce the hours too. Is that something you think would,
Well, people can't come in at night, it's going to cut down the issues, so.
yeah, but the coming in at night would be, we could, if they're scheduled,
Yeah,
something
if it's
scheduled.
yeah. But just people coming in to like pick up basketball or something, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if you want to start closing up again early, like it is before.
6.
Between 6 and 7. I didn't hear that.
He was closing up between 6 and 7
Okay.
when this was all going on.
No, I do see kids coming in during the day right now.
Yeah, but at least during the day, you're here, there's people in the building to kind of see what's going on. In the evening, nobody's here.
Right.
We need to get you a ruler.
Yeah.
Yardstick. I need a measuring tape.
Now, Jim, there is open mic on Saturday night, but that's a very small group, and they've agreed to maintain social distancing, so I would think we'd be okay with that.
What about a group like Penns Valley is, they're kind of looking around, thinking of having a prom for the juniors and seniors, and they've kind of been looking at places, and this is one of them. Is that going to be available? I was told it was, and I kind of passed that on, but if I have to,
How do you social distance in a prom?
you know,
That's like the opposite of proms.
I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if it's going to be as we normally think of a prom, or I have no idea.
Yeah. Is there something where when we reserve for groups that they sign a paper acknowledging they were told that these are the,
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I don't think you need the police groups. I mean, if they reserve, I think you can give them.
Give them a waiver and have them sign a waiver, or no?
just something acknowledging that they were given the
Yeah,
requirements.
yeah, here are the protocols.
Where do we stand then as far as disinfecting the building?
Well, that said, to maintain what was being done, and in theory, we've actually increased what we're doing.
Yeah, well, it said pre-existing protocols. I don't know what the, order on those protocols was.
They're doing door handles twice a week, so,
We've
And
never
life
stopped that,
fixtures.
correct?
Yeah, it depends on what they mean by sanitizing. I mean,
they're
Pam
putting
could
bathrooms.
walk down the hall and
Well,
disinfect.
I mean,
handles.
you can work it out.
Okay.
You could tell a group that when you're done, you don't have to clean it floor to ceiling, but maybe
The touch
wipe the
points.
kitchen down or something.
Yeah, wipe off the tables and chairs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's your disinfecting.
I mean, they're supposed to do that anyway, if they're in the kitchen, so. And there's the disinfectant stuff that everybody has to use, so.
So I will entertain a motion. Well, first, is there a second to Charles's motion? Okay. That motion is, I will entertain a motion to open the facility to the public contingent upon acknowledgement of the usage requirements,
CDC social distancing guidelines.
yeah,
Well,
presented to them.
I would say subject to your development of guidelines, and I can send you an email in the morning. I mean, obviously it won't happen here, but
Okay.
whatever the rules are for the green phase,
Yeah.
Public buildings, I can send to you, and then you can figure out how to implement them.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
No, can't do it.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Census, again, just encourage